Hey guys, how's it going? Thank you so much for your participation to today's webinar, and this will be day 4 for our YSCT. So let's keep going. We still have something left on our PBX. All right, so let's jump into the system and check this out. So previously, we actually figured out some basic settings on our system, like extension settings, how to set a SIP trunk, how to make inbound and outbound call, and also how to set some call features. But we still have something left on our system. For example, the first thing I'm going to talk about for today's webinar will be the multi-site interconnect feature. Well, this is actually a feature specifically working on our Yeastar S-Series PBX. It's a pretty good solution for multiple offices. So which basically means if you only have one PBX, well, you can forget about this feature. Not very necessary. But if you have multiple offices, you may probably gonna use this feature for the multiple offices interconnection. So talking about this feature, I guess I can talk about another feature. I'm sorry, another solution first. But another solution will not going to be our topic for today's webinar, which is called SIP trunking. So here I would like to make a brief introduction about SIP trunking solution. Now, normally, if you have two offices, let's say if you have a headquarter and a branch office, and now you have two systems, you have one S100 and another S20, maybe. These two systems are equipped in your two offices. So the traditional way for you to handle this interconnection solution is pretty easy. We can simply use the public network, create a SIP trunk between two systems. That's the traditional way for us to handle this. But the new solution is we can choose multi-site interconnect. But like I said, if you have multiple offices, which means if you only have two offices, you can keep it. You can keep the old way. You can keep the old-fashioned solution, which is SIP trunking. But if you have multiple offices, like one headquarter plus 3 or 4 branch offices, I guess multi-site interconnect is a pretty good solution because it's totally different with the traditional SIP trunking. Talking about SIP trunking solution, there's several basic conditions at the very beginning you have to get, otherwise you can't make it work. The first condition is you have to get a static IP addresses for each of your system. And second one is you have to configure port forwarding for each of your system as well. Then you're going to create a SIP trunk between them. So the solution is really complex. Now, this multi-site interconnect feature is a pretty good solution for multiple offices because what we're going to do with this feature is we can simply just enable this feature on my headquarter, and I just need a static IP address, one static IP address for my headquarter. And what I'm going to do for the port forwarding is just on my headquarter. That's it. As for the branch offices, I don't have to do anything for this multi-site interconnect, port forwarding, or static IP addresses. We can simply use this feature for it directly. Okay. And by the way, guys, about this multi-site interconnect feature, for today's webinar, I would like to just to make a brief introduction for you guys because as you can see, we have this feature here. So just some brief introduction. If you want to know more details about this, please participate in our YSCRS. We have a routing specialist training talking about more details about this. Okay, now let's keep going for something else. Now, some other things left on our PBX we're going to talk about will be the call recording feature. Okay, so what is call recording feature? I'm going to talk about the recording here. It's not going to be the one-touch recording feature. This is actually going to be the auto recording feature for your system. So when you try to use your recording feature on your PBX, for the configuration, to be honest, guys, it's pretty easy for the configuration. Nothing special. You simply just click on auto recording here, and the first thing is just choose the storage location to keep your recording. Okay. Now talking about recording, because recording file is a huge file. You probably have lots of recordings, so we cannot keep our recordings on the system on the flash directly. We're supposed to have some additional devices for keeping our recordings. So the first thing is we can change the storage location for our recording. But besides that, I mean, except for the recording here for the storage locations, you can make some other configurations for your CDR, for your auto recordings, for your voicemails, for your logs. Anyway, so all these items are totally available here for your customization. So, for example, if you prefer to change the location for your CDR, you can also change it here. Okay. And by the way, guys, about the additional storage devices. You can check over here. Currently, this demo is S100. So you guys will see that the storage devices we have here is we can support local flash, we can support USB flash disk, we can also support the SD card. So what you're gonna do is just plug and play, insert your storage devices. Then you're gonna be able to choose, for example, like the USB as your recording destination. I mean the storage location. Okay. And by the way, besides that, our system can also support a network drive. So if you're trying to have a network drive, click on that. And over here, you can set your network drive. So give a name here, set the hosted name or IP address here, and also the share name, access username, and the password. Anyway, don't forget this basic information. Just put it here. Then you're going to be able to have a network drive available on your system for your storage. Okay. Besides that, here's auto cleanup because we have auto recording. Now, like I said at the very beginning, the recording file is a huge file. That's a huge file, absolutely. So probably we also need to set auto cleanup in the future to make our system be intelligent to have a cleanup, right? So we can set auto cleanup for our CDR. We can have a cleanup for voicemail and also one-touch recording. Besides that, a cleanup for your recording, the auto recording, and also we have a cleanup for our logs. So it's totally over here, available here. Now, after that, we can simply just back to our auto recording feature, and let's talk about the call recording. Okay. And the first thing about this auto recording feature here, we have enable recording of internal calls. So for your internal calls, it's actually not so necessary for you to have this recording all the time. Sometimes you can have it, sometimes you don't. It depends on you. Not so popular. But anyway, if you enable this feature, that's totally available for you. And what's more, we can also set a prompt for internal call being recorded. That's very helpful sometimes. For example, if I prefer to start recording, I can just, notify my internal user that currently this conversation will be recorded, right? And I guess that's okay, not a big deal. But the most important thing here for the prompt is going to be outbound calls or inbound calls, right? So for outbound calls or inbound calls, anyway, these kind of calls are totally for external. So for external calls, we definitely prefer to have a recording prompt. We would like to notify our customers that this conversation will be recorded. So if you're okay with that, you can just keep the call online. If you're not okay with that, you can basically just hang it up. Anyway, kind of like that. It's just a notification to notify them that we're going to start recording. Guess what, guys? This is very important because I'm pretty sure nobody wants any kind of legal trouble in the future. So it's better for you to make it clear. Just put your prompt here to notify your customer that you're going to record it, right? The last one we have here is callback calls being recorded prompt. So for the callback feature, we support callback features. So once you activate your callback feature, and when the customer they pick it up, we can also give them a prompt that this callback call it will also be recorded. Okay. Then let's talk about the configuration. So the configuration, what you're gonna do, because this is auto recording, so you can simply just select the recorded chunks and the preferred extension for recording and preferred chunk for recording. So for example, you can select these 3 chunks or some other things. Anyway, it depends on you. And then in the future, any call go through these chunks, it will be recorded. Absolutely. And if I select extensions plus chunks together, well, they're going to work together. So for example, if I select 1001 and 1002 plus these three trunks, so it basically means in the future, if there's some call, if there's any call go through these three trunks, and the plus it go to these two extensions, then it will be recorded. But if somebody else pick it up or some other calls made by some other extensions, like extension user 7001, make a call go through this trunk for a customer, it's not going to be recorded because these two conditions, they're going to work together. Okay. Then we have a record conferences. So we can also support this. Not a big deal. So if you have a conference, you would like to record this conference, you can just select it here. Then if we start a conference, it will be recorded. So this is about our recording feature. Okay, now let's keep going. Okay, next feature I'm going to talk about on our S-Series PBX, basic feature I'm going to talk about here will be user permission. So guess what? What is user permission? User permission, actually, let me just delete this so we can start from the very beginning. Have a check here, guys. For the user permission, think about it. For now, currently, there's only one person will be able to do any kind of settings for the system, any kind of modification, configuration, whatever, maintenance, right? So this person is called super administrator, right? But sometimes, super administrator, he's probably out of office or he got a business trip. Anyway, he's just not available for now. So we might probably want to have some kind of like a sub user account or maybe a helper, kind of like that for the super administrator. So that's what we're going to do with this user permission. As we know, every single extension user is available to log into the system, make some customization for their personal settings, right? So for example, if I'm an extension user on the system, my name is Jason No, so I will also be able to use my extension number plus my user password, log into the PBX. But there's nothing I can do for the system except my personal setting. So now with the user permission here, we can simply just turn this user, for example, Jason New, work as the SAP user account or maybe a SAP administrator for manage the system. So we can simply just click on add here and you can just pick one of your user, any of your internal user, that's fine. So like I said, we can select Jason New, we can select my extension here. Okay, just wait a second, guys. I think I got a bad connection here. And by the way, this configuration is also very easy. It's very clear. You can simply just select your extension user. And besides that, you can just set the privilege. The privilege here, we actually have two options. We have administrator and we also have custom. So if you select the privilege as the administrator, that basically means we just activate all these PBX configuration privileges for this user, Jason New. So he's gonna work as same as what I can do for the system. All right. But if we select custom, then all these privileges, all these items are, none of them are enabled. So which means you're going to make a selection by yourself. So select them, which one you prefer to give the privilege to Jason New. You can enable extension, you can enable trunk settings. If I enable extension and trunk settings, then when Jason New tries to log into the system for the next time, what he can do with the system is he can make some customization for his personal setting, and he can also make some customization or some modification for extensions and trunks. I'm sorry, guys. Guess I got a connection issue with this, so it's not so good. I'm sorry about this. So anyway, but I just make an explanation about this user permission. Okay, so sorry about this part. And if this is not so clear, I think you guys can check our document center, where you can get our videos on the YouTube channel. Okay, so this is about the user permission. Not a big deal. I think my explanation is clear, but just get a bad connection issue today. So I'm sorry about that. Okay, now let's keep going. What's more, our system can also support hot standby. The hot standby solution actually is, I think sometimes it can be a pretty good solution. Sometimes it's very helpful for your S100, especially on your S300, because mostly our S100 and S300, these two models are used for some projects, something like a university, something like a government, banking system, anyway. So for those projects, they do need a telephony solution, but besides that, they also need a very stable system. They prefer to have a stability. That's very important for them, right? So we can provide them a pretty good stable solution. Is first of all, the S-Series PBX is very stable. That's okay, but for a big project, in case there's something bad happened, we can actually we can put two systems there and enable this hot standby. And about Yeastar hot standby feature, when you try to use this, there's a basic requirement. The first requirement is you're gonna need to make sure these two systems they have the exact same firmware version and hardware version. That's the first requirement. Okay, and after that, for the hardware installation, our system can support modules, right? So even for the hardware installations are supposed to be the exactly same thing. Okay, so on your primary system you have one S2 module, one O2 module, and on your secondary system you should have the same thing there. And even for the installation it should be exactly the same thing with each other. Then for the configuration, this hot standby feature, we can support it under the same local network environment. We cannot use our hot standby feature in two different networks. It's not supported, so it should be in the same network. Then you can simply just enable your hot standby. Uh, Oops, I'm sorry. Let me just disable this failover. Okay. Then let's go for the hot standby. So enable this. Okay. Okay, let me just save this first. Okay. Sorry, guys. Let me just reboot the system because it seems that I just previously I enabled my network failover solution, so I cannot enable this hot standby. So, and by the way, guys, when you try to use this hot standby feature, don't forget to disable your network failover, like what I'm doing right now. So that's very important because once you enable your network failover solution, now this hot standby feature we cannot enable this. So change your settings and reboot your system. And talking about reboot your system, guys, actually, as you can see, this is the live demo. So our system gonna take probably just 1 or 2 minutes for the system rebooting. So you just need to wait for a while, and then everything starts from the very beginning. Okay, now let's just wait for a while. Okay, so as you can see, once you start rebooting your system, after that, this link will not gonna be available. So the system will just take rebooting, and you're gonna wait for a few seconds, then try to refresh the page. After that, you're back to your system here. So let's try to log in to the system again. Okay, now here we are. Now we're in the system. So just like I said, it probably takes you around 2 minutes. Around 2 minutes. Okay, now let's get back here for the hot standby. So the hot standby, that's like what I said. Get yourself be prepared with everything. Then you can start enable hot standby. Pretty easy. Then you have two systems right now. Okay, and enable this hot standby. The first thing you're gonna do is set the mode for this PBX. Now, for example, if I prefer to make this S100 works as my primary system, then I'm gonna choose primary. And on the other hand, my secondary system, I'm gonna just select secondary. Okay, that's very easy. Then for the secondary server information, don't forget to put your secondary server host name here. Okay, so put it here, and also secondary server IP address. Put it here. Okay. And for the access code, set access code here. So for the secondary system and your primary system, they're going to use the same access code for access to each other, of course. Then actually our hot standby feature is based on this virtual IP address. Okay, so which basically means we put these two systems under the same virtual IP address. Okay, so after that, in the future, all kinds of communications, the traffic, anyway, those packets we're gonna send to this specific virtual IP address instead of the specific IP address of this primary system or the secondary system. Actually, everything just go to the virtual IP address. So that's why we can make this hot standby feature works under the same network, same local network. So it doesn't matter which IP address you're using on two systems, on each system. It doesn't matter. They both are going to use the same virtual IP address. Okay. And then here we have advanced setting. That's very important. We have keep alive, and also we have dead time. So the keep alive here, you guys can see by default setting is 3 seconds, and dead time is 120 seconds. So 3 seconds means every 3 seconds, the secondary system will send packets, kind of like a detection packets, will send the detection packets to the primary system to check whether everything's okay, it's normal, or something bad happened. And the dead time is 120 seconds. It actually means the primary system sends you the packets, the detection packets, then you're going to give the secondary system a feedback. So if you give that feedback is over 120 seconds, that's kind of like a timeout, right? So our secondary system will identify the primary system is out of service. Then the secondary system will take over of everything for your telephony system. Okay. So all of your extensions, all of your SIP trunks, everything go through IP. It will be taken by the secondary system. But if you have some physical trunks like PSTN lines, ISDN channels, those physical lines, you're gonna need to unplug it on your primary system and replug it on your secondary system manually. Okay. Then we have disk synchronization. We can also enable this. And this disk synchronization, you guys can see, just enable this. And this is going to be a real-time disk synchronization. Okay. So all of your disk information, the data, will also be synchronized with on your secondary system. Okay. So this is about the hot standby feature. Like I said, mostly we're going to use this feature for some project. For the small and medium-sized enterprise users, I mean, if this is a tiny office, it's a very normal, very ordinary office, not very popular. Mostly this solution, we prefer to use it for some projects. Okay. The next one, Event Center. So what is Event Center? Event Center, actually, we have event settings, we have event log. First thing here is event settings. Event settings, you guys can see we have lots of items. We put those items here. Those items are totally about some events or notification, whatever you prefer to call it. And here we have several buttons. We have record button, we have notification button, and here we have edit notification. So added notification is the template for the notification. For example, like the first one, modify administrator password. So actually means if somebody change your password, okay, change the administrator's password, then the system will absolutely notify you. So this is the notification template. You will be able to receive the notification like this. And as for how are we going to notify the contacts? By email or by short messages, we can go to the notification contacts to set it. But when you try to use this notification feature, so don't forget to enable notification here. And also don't forget to enable record, because if you enable record, then something bad happened, it will be recorded in the event log. That's the record button. For the notification, if you enable this button, then the notification contacts will be able to receive the notification sent by the PBX. So here, For the notification contacts, our system can support maximum 4 notification contacts. Okay, so these contacts can be external number, external user, or internal user. Anyway, it depends on you. And as for how are we going to notify this guy if something bad happened, we can notify him by email. We can notify him by short messages. We can notify him by make a call on extension, or we can call his mobile number. So if we enable if we enable short messages, call mobile, or email, then don't forget to assign the mailbox and mobile number to this extension user. Okay, don't forget that. Then you can simply just click on save and apply. Okay, so we're going to be able to have this notification in the future. Okay, then last one, the event log. Like I said, if we enable record, then if something bad happened, it will be recorded here. So you can just check your event log here in case something bad happened. Okay, so this is about our basic settings, guys. And let's keep going for the next part. The next part I'm going to talk about for today's webinar will be the maintenance. It's going to be a basic maintenance on your system. Like sometimes if something happened, how are we going to handle the system? How are we going to make maintenance? Okay. Click on maintenance here. You will see the first thing we have is system upgrade. So if you want to upgrade your system, now don't forget, here's the place, okay? About the system upgrading, we can choose manual upgrade. Absolutely, you can upgrade your system manually. You can enable this, reset configuration to factory default, then drop the verification code here. We're gonna reset everything back to factory default. I'm not gonna do it here, okay? And also for the upgrading, okay, for the upgrading, we support browsing file, we support download from TFTP server, we can also support, download from HTTP server. So it depends on you. You can choose any of them. Browsing server. So if you get our upgrade, the firmware, so you can just upload it here. You can also choose TFTP server to enter your server address plus the file name. You can also download the firmware as well, or you can choose HTTP server. So drop the HTTP URL here, and you're gonna get the firmware. So this is about the manual upgrade. Except for that, we can also have automatic upgrade. This is very popular. I mean, right now we have internet access on the system, so we can click on this, check for new firmware, or we can enable never check for updates, depends on you, or check for updates and let me know, let me choose whether to upgrade. Or maybe the most popular way is we can check for updates and automatically install. So here you can just set a schedule for your system to automatically get the updates. Okay. Then we have backup and restore. So for backup and restore feature here, so if we prefer to make a backup for your system, you can simply click on backup here. Then you guys will see this is going to be the file name of your backup. So you can make a customization or you can keep it this way. So this backup name, it actually just tells your model name, firmware version, and also date and time. Then you can also drop something for the memo, just to make it clear. Make sure that you can figure out what is this, and you can choose the location type. So location type, currently on my live demo, I have nothing else except my local flash. So there's only one option. But if you guys have the additional storage devices, you can choose different destinations for the location. Okay, for this backup, the backup file. Then for backup file, you can also choose whether I'm going to backup everything or just make a selection like a system settings, custom prompts, or call logs. Very flexible. Okay, after that, so you will be able to have your backup. Absolutely. And by the way, guys, about your backup, you get the backup here and you can click on download. So you will be able to get this download. I'm sorry. You will be able to get your backup from your PBX on your computer. You can get the backup on your computer. Then after that, you can just restore your system in the future if you want to restore your system. So step one, option one, actually, you can restore it on your PBX directly, like here. Just click on restore button. Or option two, you can upload your backup file. That's totally fine. Like what I said before, you have the file on your computer, so you can just upload it here. Then you can, uh, restore it on your PBX. Exactly. And besides that, here's the delete button, so you can delete some of your, backup file if you don't wanna. If you don't need it, you can just delete it here. Or you can set a schedule for your system to have automatic backup. That's pretty easy. So you can enable this feature, choose the schedule, set a schedule like daily, weekly, or monthly. Then set the time. And for the location type, don't forget to choose it. The backup rotation, don't forget to make a selection. Select one, two, or three. After that, and by the way, guys, the backup rotation, have a check here. This feature actually defines how many backup files at most will be stored in the current location. So when the file number exceeded the set value, the oldest file will be replaced with the newest. So that's just a rule for you to get backup file. Okay. Okay, then the backup file will include, you can choose to include system settings, custom prompts, or call logs. So three options are separately. So you can choose which part is useful for you. Okay, something not necessary, you can just skip it. Okay, then we have reboot buttons. So for some settings, after some configuration, you want to take a reboot for your system, click on this. Okay, or you can set a schedule for the auto reboot. Then here's the reset button. So you can make a selection. Which part would you like to reset? You can reset them all, or you can just reset IP, or just reset CDR and recording files. So anyway, it's separately. It's pretty easy. Then for basic troubleshooting, guys, here's our system log. Here's our operation log. So sometimes if we get some tech issue, we can get the log, right? So here's the place where you can get your log, the system log, the operation log. Everything's just here. Then the last one for troubleshooting. The troubleshooting here, we provide you guys four basic troubleshooting tool. The first one is Ethernet capture tool. So Ethernet capture tool, sometimes if you get something wrong happened on your SIP trunk or on your SIP connection, anyway, if you have something wrong with your, with the cost or something, so you can use this Ethernet capture tool to capture packets. Okay, then after that, we're going to use some other softwares to check what was happening. For example, like if we get a packet here, we can put the packets in the something like Wireshark, right? A professional solution there to see what exactly was happening on the packets, kind of like a troubleshooting procedure. Okay. Besides that, we also have port monitor tool. So this is for your FXO trunk. So if you have something wrong with your FXO trunk or your LTE trunk for your analog trunk, okay? So you can use this port monitor tool. It's kind of like we can click on start, capture the audio, right? Then we can send the audio to set the audio to our tech support there, and they're gonna help us to figure out what was happening here. And also we can enable this IP ping here. So drop the specific host name or the destination anyway. Just click on start, check the ping, check the connection, whether this is work or something wrong with that. And last one, trace route. So trace route, you can also set a destination, click on start, then you will be able to figure out exactly where did you send those packets. Okay, so it's also a basic troubleshooting tool for the basic maintenance. If something bad happened on our system, we can use these four basic tools for something very basic. Okay. All right, guys, guess that was all we have for today's webinar. And once again, thank you so much for your participation. Thank you for your time. And if you guys have any questions, you can let me know through the chatting panel. And by the way, guys, we have lots of information available on our website. So don't forget to visit yeastar.com. There you can find we have knowledge base for tech support. We also have a document center talking about lots of basic technical technical knowledges there. Okay. And also don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. There's also lots of available videos. Hopefully everything will be informative and helpful for you guys.